Welcome to the Self-Publishing School podcast. This is the podcast to listen to if you're an aspiring writer or an author who wants to be more successful. On this show, you'll learn how to write and launch a book successfully, all from the top authors and people just like you who are doing it at the highest level. I'm your host, Chandler Bolt, the founder of Self-Publishing School, the author of the book called Published, and the CEO of selfpublishing.com. For free training on how to publish a book that sells 10,000 copies, go to selfpublishing.com/free training. Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and joining me today is James Tahhan, also known as Chef James. He's, so much I can say about this guy. He's won 3 Emmys. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you can see them in the background. So legit. He began his career on Telemundo, in TV, became a TV personality, had a lot of success there as a Venezuelan entrepreneur, built a massive social following as Chef James, has created a bunch of multiple successful businesses. I mean, I think this is one of the best kept secrets of you from what I've seen and what Fermanagh told me is that they see the chef personality and they see the social and all that, and they don't realize how many super successful businesses that you have founded. So Foodie Squela, there's Create Media, so a marketing agency. You guys have built up a bunch of international creators. I think you said over 200 million reach through all those accounts. I mean, just crazy success. So what I want to talk about today is we'll start with the TV background, talk social, talk building, monetizing social, building up a business on the back of that, successfully publishing books. Like there's a lot to unpack here. But James, it's great to have you.
Thank you so much, Chandler. It's a pleasure being here and meeting you finally. Our teams have been talking, and I hadn't had the chance to talk to you. As I said before we started the interview, kudos on everything you've done. Amazing work, dude. Great job on being a visionary, and I couldn't be happier. I'm always happy to see people succeed, young entrepreneurs like you. I say young because I'm around your same age, so it's so super exciting, and I think one of the key things back in the days, people used to keep their secrets, and I think now it's the time to share our secrets because people at the end of the day, they pay for implementation because it's easier. And in a world of fast pace and us barely having any time to doing things outside of what we already do on our day-to-days, when we share knowledge and people really need us to do it for them, they're going to pay for it. And that's how I think a lot of entrepreneurs have grown multi-million-dollar businesses. So very excited to be here and share some of the stuff that has worked for me. Again, I never say I have the answer to everything, but I've gone through a lot of things, and those things can either, give you a hint on where to go, or they can save you money, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's start. I want to get into social and businesses and all this stuff, but I mean, I got to know, with the background in TV, how did you even get in that? And how did you make that so successful?
It's the craziest story ever. I used to work in a telemarketing company. I got to America with my mom in 2003. And we had $300 in our pocket, literally. Like we started from scratch. I had to get a full-time job at the time at the mall. I used to repair cell phones, which is crazy. I was 14 years of age, so everything in my life was very premature. In the meantime, I was working full-time, 50 hours a day and going to school. My friends were going to the beach and they were, enjoying other aspects of life, which at the time felt like I'm missing out on a lot of things I should be doing. But then as time went by, I realized that it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, and that we learn through pain more than we do from joy and success, right? Because pain actually wakes up an emotion and it hurts us and it leaves us a scar. So that really pushed me to, at my, 19, I was 19 years of age at the time. I worked in this telemarketing company. I started as a sales representative. I went to being a general manager, overseeing 400 sales reps. And then from there, I said, I was probably like 18-ish, 19. Yeah, I was 18 at the time. I was making like $150,000 a year. And I said, I want to just take some time for myself. I want to go to culinary school as a hobby. And then my business mind, as soon as I got there, I was like, okay, what do I do? How do I monetize? How do I make money off of this? And one day I'm talking to a teacher who was my public speaking teacher. And he's like, oh my God, in 20 years, I had never seen somebody that in the first class gets there. We had to do like a little 3-minute speech. And I started doing my speech and talking to people. And he's like, you were integrating you were integrating the audience. You were talking, asking questions. Like, I've never seen that before. And my first question was like, literally, how do I monetize that? Because I come from a Syrian background. My mom and dad, I mean, they were born in the place of trade and sales and everything. So naturally, I was, looking for that business opportunity. And he said, well, being a TV chef. And I was like, oh, tell me more. And he's like, yeah, you can talk about brands, you can endorse products, you can sell products, you can do so many things. You can have a TV show, and that pays really well. I was like, okay. So back in the day, I built a vision board, and I still have. And I put a picture of me, I put a chef hat on, and I sort of like drew a TV around me, saying that one day I was going to be on TV. And call it manifestation, call it law of attraction, whatever you want to call it God, the universe. One day I'm doing this catering for a family member, and they're like, listen, I want to introduce you to this guy who's a TV producer. And he's like, oh my God, I love that you're young and you know your stuff and your food is amazing. We're having auditions tomorrow for a TV show, a national TV show. And I was like, okay. When he said audition, I was so not aware of the word that I thought I was going for an interview. So I literally dressed up like if I was going for a bank interview. Like, I almost wore a tie. And when I get there, it was so embarrassing. The guy's like, literally, what the hell are you wearing? Like, you're supposed to bring a chef coat, dude. Like, you're coming for an audition to being a chef. What are you wearing? And I'm like, dude, I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This is definitely not for me. So then he asked the second question. He's like, did you bring your utensils and your food? And I don't see anything. And I'm like, I didn't bring anything. I thought I was coming for an interview. He's like, you're coming for a demo. You're going to cook in front of like a bunch of producers. And I was like, oh, dude, like, this is definitely not for me. Thank you for the chance, but I'm just going to walk away. And he's like, no, don't walk away. We need to figure something out because I really like you. And I was like, okay, so what do we do? He's like, okay, fake it. Just like mix here and add here and whatever. I just want to see you communicating. And I was like, okay, so dude, again, the universe, God, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it. There's this guy there. He used to own a restaurant, and he was in the actual, studio doing his performance. He also wanted the job, and he used to be the owner of a restaurant I used to go to a lot. And he had finished. And he sees me, and he's like, oh, James, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what the heck I'm doing here, but I'm here. Are you done with your stuff? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, can I borrow some of your ingredients? And he's like, yeah, take them all. I mean, take everything. So I took his ingredients and I made my demo off of his ingredients. And 3 days after, they call me and they're like, congratulations, you're the official chef for the Telemundo networks, which is the number one Hispanic television network in America. National morning show host, like the Today Show, Hispanic version of the Today Show, and the rest is history. That was like fast forwarding everything that I once had in my dreams. Because imagine, I mean, I was every single day for 11 consecutive years the host for the morning show. And I started as a chef, and my second contract, I was evolved to not only being the chef, but also being a co-host for the show. So think like an Al Rocker who started doing the weather and then eventually became, it was the same.
Oh, cool.
Same story. Yeah. So it was the same story. I did that. And alongside that, then everything started happening. I got, the Food Network called me. So I was a judge for their 2 top shows ever, which is, one of them is Chopped, which is a competition show. And the other one's The Worst Cooks in America. I was a judge in Top Chef. I was a judge in Master Chef. I did all the massive, biggest shows out there. So life has been very, very, very good to me. But one thing that I want to, point out is that, Chandler, none of this happens. None of this is luck. It's visualizing what you want. And overall, creating the biggest possible standards of work. In every single position I've had since I started in the mall or like telemarketing, I would always go to the top. And it was because everywhere I used to go, my competitive soul would really take me to always wanting to over deliver in everything. So when you own a business and you have somebody who's over delivering and it's solving problems, at a rate that nobody else is, then this person has opportunity for growth. And I think that has always been the mindset that I've had in not only growing businesses, but also me growing as an employee. And I think this standard thing just works out in every possible, point of view, from whichever angle you want to look at it, whether you're going to the gym, you're taking your health more serious, you're building a business, relationships, give it your all and you're naturally going to grow.
That's great. Wow. What an epic story. So let's segue off of that and say, all right, you're on TV, like you said, for 11 years. At what point in that did you start building the social media following, your personal brand, all that? And I'm assuming there was, okay, let me build this social brand while I'm doing that. And then at a certain point, it gets to a tipping point and you start to monetize. Can you walk me through that of like, when did you start building the brand and how did you first start monetizing?
One day I was in a meeting with a photographer. We were doing like my photo shoots every year. I had so many photo shoots. I used to be sick of it because I don't like photo shoots. And I was on TV. The reason why I was on TV is because I enjoy communicating and teaching people. And after going to culinary school, like I really wanted to teach people how to cook. And that was a good portion of what I did. But the not so good portion was I had to do like photo shoots every 2 to 3 months, and I hated them. But one of my photographers says at the time, that was 2009, it was right before I started on TV. He's like, "Oh, I was already like trying to do something on the TV realm, and he's like, "We need to do a photo shoot for you." And he's like, "You should start a Twitter account." And I was like, "Okay." So I started Twitter in 2009, and I started playing with it, and I would spend, I at the time like 1 hour a day on Twitter, like reading what people were talking about, and I would like always take it, make it my own, and then sort of like put it out there, almost like Russell Brunson's formula to funnel hacking, where like he used to hack people's funnels and then build better funnels based on what he saw. That was the same thing I did, and then the same thing with like Instagram and Facebook and so on. And I would really leverage the platform. Since an early age I thought there was something there, and then I was the youngest one out of all my co-hosts, and all of them were like superstars in the TV world when I started, and none of them had social media. And I was like, guys, you should get in social media. And they're like, nah, that's you. You're young. You get on that, and then you let us know. And then when I came to let them know, it was not too late, but I mean, things were already popping. So, I started building a following. Today, we have across the board approximately, 3 million followers on social, which now isn't that much, but it's an audience that we've been building for quite some time. And it's a very loyal, community. So they know me a lot of times now. They come to my restaurants and they're like, "Oh my God, I follow you since this." And they'll tell you the story. And you're like, "Oh my God, that's like 15 years ago. Like that's, such a long time ago." And they're like, yeah, I followed every step of the way. And it's amazing to grow with an audience, because it's almost like you're growing with people that they love you, and I've been very fortunate that, in a world of like hate and love, or whatever we want to call it, if you go in my comments and everybody's just wishing you good stuff, and it's like good vibes and good energy. And I think that comes from just you being a good human being to them and showing them that you care, realistically. So it grew tremendously. And then from there, again, like the rest is history,
How did you first start monetizing? And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think there's a 6 or 7 figure e-commerce side of things that's around the personal brand. And then you've got the agency that's super successful. So, I guess for the social piece, because I think there's a lot of people that can build up a following, not a lot of people that can build up a following like you have. A decent amount of people that can build up a following, but then they're like, how do I even monetize this?
Right.
So how did you turn it into, like, how did you first monetize? And then what was the path to scale to what you've multiples?
Yeah, I think I think everybody can build a following, Chandler, and I think everybody can really monetize a following, and they can grow a following, bigger than mine in no time. And I'll tell you a quick story of a chef who used to be a personal chef, and one day she said, "I'm just going to record my stuff the same way I am. I'm not trying to showcase anything different." And she started recording content, and in 6 months, she's 3.9 million followers, which is, I mean, significantly bigger than my audience by a million. And I've been doing this for 10 years. So everyone has the opportunity. You just have to stick to whatever it is, to your character and your messaging. And, so how did I start this whole thing? I started a brand. I wanted to, obviously, being on TV, fulfilling the dream of selling product. One day, a friend of mine told me, like, when you work for a company or you're on TV, we have an expiration date in our forehead, right? That means tomorrow an executive comes and he wants somebody, I don't know, he wants maybe a female chef, or maybe he wants, I don't know, somebody that looks different or speaks different, has a different style, or like, cooks Mediterranean instead of whatever. We have an expiration date. So he told me that, and he just kept it there. But that really resonated in my head. And the first thing that came to mind was diversification. Most people wait for that moment to come to take action. And there's nothing worse in the world than being in the position of losing a job and not having a plan B, C, or D. Because now you have responsibilities, your family. If you have children, it becomes even worse. I mean, you didn't do anything because you were in your comfort zone. And people talk often about, and it sounds cliche, the whole comfort zone thing, but in reality, you have to get off of your comfort zone so you don't face these tough times in life. When they come, you're prepared. Tony Robbins talks about anticipation. Leaders anticipate and losers react. Losers react because when it happens, you're like, oh my God, what do I do now? So when he told me that, I decided to start a business. And I started, reaching to some old friends in the space, and I created chefjames.com, which is my e-commerce, right? When I created it, I was having a lot of difficulties finding the right agencies to help me grow. I had my salary, so I could pay agencies, but still, you want to pay them to grow your business, and I wouldn't see the needle moving. I spoke to like publicly traded marketing agencies, nothing. I went to another marketing agency, nothing. Then I started researching online, big marketing agencies. Some of them would charge me $10,000 a month, and I was like, oh my God, I can. That's almost like what I'm making a month. So I'm still going to pay nothing. So one day I got sick of it. I started researching and looking for individuals that were experts in one specific matter. So I found a Facebook ads guy. I found a Google ads guy. I found somebody, community manager, and I built a team of 6 people. This team started working with me. We started implementing things, and they really helped me grow. When I started growing, all my colleagues in the space, like all this, like super big celebrities who I used to watch when I was a kid, now they're like, what the heck is this? What are you doing? And I'm like, I told you back in the days, but now I took it like really seriously. So they were like, I want to sell something. I want to sell a course. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I was like, okay. So I took my team and I told them, okay, I know you're Chef James's team, but now you are Create Media Agency. We're turning you into an agency. And we started, just giving other people the services we were using for the Chef James brand. The good thing is when you find somebody in this space, if I want to write a book, I'm going to go to you because you have written books and you know how to write a book. But if I come to you, help me write a book, and you tell me you write a book, but you have never published a book. So how is it that you know the formula if you haven't done it for yourself? So I have a magic formula and I can have products, sell. But if you have the formula, why aren't you banking off of what you know? So that was always my question. Agencies, they knew e-commerce, but they did not have an e-commerce. So every person that came to me knew that I went through the struggles of building an e-commerce. So I knew exactly what they were going. And that was how, our percentage of growth for e-commerce brands with Create Media Agency, it's an average of 30%. When a business comes to us on the e-commerce side, we help them grow 30% right off the bat, like literally. So it was just sort of like stacking formulas that had worked before for me. And I can always use me as a guinea pig and not use something new on a client to see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then I sort of like, punish the client, which shouldn't be the right way of doing things. So I have my e-commerce, I can test it with me. If it works, I'll use it with my clients. If it doesn't work, then I don't use it with my clients, And that was what truly helped us grow significantly. Now we have a team of over 50 people in the agency. And, and we went from working with very, small clients to multi-billion dollar companies.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
I hope you're loving this episode so far. So if you're serious about writing and publishing your book, we would love to chat with you and help create a custom plan. All right. So all you need to do right now is go to selfpublishing.com/schedule. Schedule a 45-minute consultation with one of the experts on my team. All right. Let's implement what you're learning in this episode and let's see how we can help with your book. Go to selfpublishing.com/schedule. So 50 people in the agency now. What's the bigger focus for you, the agency or the personal brand e-commerce side of things?
We now have within our portfolio 11 companies, and we go from the agencies and e-commerce and Chef James. I'm still on TV. I still do a lot of events, and like I work with brands. I just finished one of the largest deals I've ever signed from a brand deal perspective. But I think when you love what you do, and I'm sure you feel this way, it's like I've had the blessing of having the opportunity to choose what field and what business I want to get myself into. So for that reason, I enjoy everything so much that I dedicate time to every single one of these businesses in order to like really take them to the next level, because they need time, they need resources, they need a team. So I also try to hire the best people that I can in order to grow this,
And what, how do you, this is wild to me because I guess, I'm a college dropout and a C-level English student with ADHD, and almost like I feel like a byproduct of the ADHD. And I know a lot of people, they get the rap of like, oh, you're all over the place. But I feel like almost a byproduct of that, I've had to really focus on one business, selfpublishing.com. And it's really hard for me to have multiple things spinning at once. So I think hearing you describe all the businesses, my head is exploding. So can you help me understand, how do you balance it? How do you prioritize it? Like, how does that work?
Well, I think, people talk about life and work balance, I also have ADHD. So one thing is, when I talk to my clients, to my teams, actually, one thing I tell them is, listen, welcome to the team. This is who I am. These are my strengths and these are my weaknesses. I'm not good at everything. That's why I'm bringing you into the mix. So, I think at the beginning it was a little tough to navigate, between the different companies and stuff. Today, I sort of like try to utilize my time effectively and efficiently. And, I used to have 2-hour meetings back in the days, and I used to drive everyone crazy. Now I have 30-minute meetings, and, everybody knows what they have to do. And I'm very, clear with what the goals are and what each person's responsibility towards those goals are. So when you have a clear path of where we want to go, and that, this is what I'm responsible for, I try to create a very, light work culture where, like, listen, we're not babysitters. I don't want to be running behind you or whatever, and you don't want me to be doing that. So just get the work done, and like, just let's try to just implement a culture where, like, if the deadline is on Wednesday, you're done on Monday, and we're working. And also, like, a lot of people tell me, like, oh my God, it would be so amazing to live the life you live, and I don't think everyone would want to live my life, because I'm the first one that wakes up. I'm the last one that goes to bed. I'm on top of everything. I like to put the hours. I do have bad days like everyone else. I do have days where you wake up and you don't feel good for whatever reason, but you still have to show up and you still have to put your best, face out there, and you have to lead your team with sympathy and empathy and, with energy, because if I'm leading the team and I'm not at my top best, how are they going to perform at their highest level? So it starts by me leading by example. And every time somebody comes to work with me, I always tell them the same thing: work as closely as you can with me, and things are gonna be much easier for you, because now you're going to learn with me and the team, and some people that have been working with me for 6, 7, 8 years. You're gonna get that standard. And I'm not saying it's the best way to do things. A lot of people have different strategies and they work out, but like that has worked out for us. So let's continue to do that until like something changes, because I'm a firm believer that you do something repeatedly. You do, if it works, you do more of it. And if it continues to work, double down on that until it breaks. And then we'll figure things out. In the meantime, you guys just put the work. I'll think of strategizing. I'll anticipate. I'll think of what's coming next. And, that to me has been the formula. But utilizing the time wisely and having, a great assistant alongside me, and now with AI, I think things, are significantly easier. I recently started doing this thing called the second brain, which has been out there for a while, but it's pretty much a place where like it's almost like this thing thinks for me. Like the thinking happens there, and then I go on that 1 hour a day, and I know what my day, week, everything, like minute by minute, is looking like.
That's cool. How
Yeah.
do you, I mean, do you balance, do you do, like, do you prioritize your companies based on revenue? Is it, okay, hey, the agency is the biggest revenue driver, or the e-com is the biggest revenue driver, therefore that gets the majority of my calendar? Or like, how do you think about that?
100%. 100%. It's like the businesses that are performing the best usually have the most of my time, and then businesses that are starting get a lot of my time for a period of time, right? Which is us setting everything up. And we started a company. My latest company we started. It's an acquisitions company, and basically what it does, and it's not a high level acquisition like we're going after $150 million businesses. No, we're working with very small businesses that have a specific, EBITDA a year. And what we do is that when they need marketing and they need help on growth, they come with us. We partner up with them. We bring the marketing in, and then we help them scale and we help them grow. So that, starting that business took a little bit of time, took like 3 months of intense like research and, looking for the right people and so on. So I would say that businesses that are steady and established get some of my time. Businesses that are top performing get the most of my times, and then businesses that were like actually starting from the get go take a lot of my time when we start, and then off they go, and like they go in the middle.
Got it. That makes sense. What would be your advice for the aspiring entrepreneur? This could be someone who is maybe already built a social media following and is looking to monetize, or someone who's just looking to scale and have some business success like you've had. What would be your advice on how to reach that 7-figure mark?
Obsess about everything you do. You have to be obsessed. You have to think about this thing every single day, every single hour. The more you think about something, and I like to always give an example after I say something as an analogy, so it really sticks to those that are listening. If you really want something in your life, people are going to say work hard and so on. I'm not going to tell you to work hard. I'm going to tell you to obsess with it. The more you think about what you want to do, and more times a day, and when it becomes an obsession, then so many ideas are happening and are coming to you around that business that you're naturally going to start figuring out what the next thing is for that business. So if you have an e-commerce or whatever, and you're stuck at the, 500,000 mark, and you don't know what to do, then you need to start thinking even more about it, because the more you think about it, where energy goes, where focus goes, energy flows. And the more you think about it, the more ideas are going to come your way. Once I was stuck in like, okay, I couldn't surpass a certain mark with my e-commerce, and I was like thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it. And then one day, I was like, how about this? How about if I go and find a very good product from somebody else? And obviously e-commerce is very capital intense. You buy product, you sell product, you buy more products. So now your cash flow is compromised. So, and you keep, doing that until like the business grows to a certain level. But like I said, how about I do something where somebody else benefits from my efforts, but that brings me a benefit. So I was selling a product, and it was pots and pans. So I reached out to this spice company that's wildly known, and I told them, like, why don't you give me product for free initially, but I'll pay you once I sell it, right? So they were like, yeah, okay. I was already a personality. I was already Chef James. So they were like, oh, of course, you're endorsing my product. I'll give it to you for free. So they gave me the product for free. I bundled that with my product, so my product would sell faster and I would sell more of it at a higher price, because I was selling two products at the same time, giving them free shipping. And then from there, from the money I collected, I would pay, that person. Sometimes they would just give me like promotional product for free. So when you give people value, that's why it's so important. People in the space of e-commerce ask me all the time, what is the key to success? Dude, work on the biggest deal ever for the people at home. Like, if you have a hell of a deal, they're going to buy it from you. Make it work. Play a volume game, play a volume game. Don't try to sell one product and make a fortune. Try to sell 100 products, and make a little bit of money, and then you sell 1,000. But the deal, the promotion, the offer has to be the best thing ever, because people know. And nowadays, people go on Amazon and they search for a product, and if it's, around the same price and they don't know you and that other product is known, they're going to go for that. So what's going to make me turn around and say, I'm going to go with Chandler's product? Oh my God, like, that's a stupidly good offer, so I need to buy it. I don't care if the product works or not, but like, the value of the offer is so good, I need to buy it. Then I'll figure it out. But they're willing to take the risk. Most people, they want to sell one product. They're like, free shipping. Free shipping is done. Nobody buys off of free shipping only. You need to do promos, bundles, deals, and that has been the key to success. So the more you think about something, the more ideas come around it, and the more you're going to figure stuff out, especially on growth,
Love it. You've, I guess, maybe kind of the home stretch here. We're running out of time, and I've got a couple final questions to ask you. So you've successfully published a cookbook previously. It's done really well, traditionally published. I know you're working on a book kind of behind the scenes and building out a brand beyond Chef James. How do you look at that, and how do you think about that? What's kind of the topic of the book, if you don't mind sharing, how does that parlay into that brand? I think more entrepreneurial brand.
Yeah, when I came to America, I realized one thing. It wasn't so much about making money. It was about understanding the system, understanding taxes, understanding investments, understanding a lot of personal things, mindset. A lot of people come and they think the American dream is one thing, but then, when you're there, you're like, no, there has to be something further down the road that I want to now get. Because if you aim for something that's achievable, you're going to get to where everybody has gotten to. Now, if you aim to the moon and you miss by half, you're still way up there. So this book is basically and essentially, a book that it's almost like a playbook on how I, through my storytelling, coming to America, not speaking the language, being ADHD, and having, I always tell people, like, I'm no different than any of you. I just work hard on the things I want. That is, I obsess with my goals, and I think about them every single day. And I do everything that's within my reach to make them happen. That's the only thing that makes me different to a lot of people. Not most of the people, but a lot of people. So this book really, taps into the mindset, the winning mindset that has worked for me. Again, I'm not saying this is the only way. I'm not saying this is the way. I'm just telling my story and what has worked for me. Intensity, passion, competitiveness, being competitive. If you're going to do something and you're going to do something mediocre, you're going to get mediocre results. If you're really going to go out there in any industry, you need to outperform most of the people that do what you do. Sort of like what you did, Chandler. You did something that's like truly incredible. I wrote a book traditionally back in the day, and I was doing the math on how would that look if like the money I made when I wrote my initial book versus like if I wrote it with you guys, and there was a $300,000 difference if I wrote it with you guys. So that's being on top of the curve. That's like, not staying with what everyone else is doing, because if you follow a path that's already written, you're going to get to where people already got to, and if they were looking for apples, they already got to the trees and there's no apple. If you build your own path, you're going to get to places where you probably get to a forest and there's a million trees now, and there's apple trees and orange trees and you name it. So I think sort of like that's the mentality that I'm trying to push and pursue with this book. I want to help people overcome certain obstacles that we usually face when we're growing into entrepreneurship. It's like a guide to not make the mistakes I make and utilize the things that work for me that could work for you.
Cool. That's great. I'm excited for it. Hopefully we'll get the chance to work together on it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get that book out. So, where can people go to find out more about you, your brand, your businesses? What's the best place to send people?
Well, you can always DM me. I'm always on my socials. So go on Instagram, find me as Chef James. If you want help with anything, I like to help young entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general. We do a bunch of like free consultations to understand your business from a marketing standpoint. And we always give people some basic recommendations so they can start implementing and they can see the value of the results. So just feel free to follow me at Chef James. Send me a DM. It's me there. It's me answering. It's a fun way for me also to like meet some of you guys and, listen to some of your stories. To me, it's the most fascinating thing in the world. So make sure you follow me on social, and I'm there. You know where to find me.
That's awesome. Guys, check it out. Chef James on Instagram. Chefjames.com is his website, or one of them. We're doing a training together in September. So if you're following him, you'll hear about that, and we'll talk about getting your book published. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you are working on a book and you want to work with our team, go to selfpublishing.com/talk. Book a call with the team. We're happy to chat about your book, your goals for your book, how we can help start to put together a plan, all that good stuff. Chef James, appreciate you. This was awesome.
Thank you so much, Chandler. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Self-Publishing School podcast. I know there's so many places that you could be spending your time. There's other podcasts that you could be listening to, YouTube channels that you could be watching. So thank you so much. It means the world. Now, I want you to do 3 things right now if you found this episode helpful. I don't know if you know this, but we've got a YouTube channel. It's a companion channel to this podcast. All the video versions of the episode are on the YouTube channel. So number 1, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Number 2, if you're listening to this podcast wherever, whether this is Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Number 2, I want you to subscribe to this podcast right now so you don't miss a future episode. And then number 3, this is probably the most important, leave a review on the podcast. All right, reviews are super important and help this podcast get discovered by other people. So number 3, leave a review on the podcast. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Self-Publishing School podcast. I know there's so many places that you can be spending your time. There's other podcasts that you could be listening to, YouTube channels that you could be watching. So thank you so much. It means the world. Now, I want you to do 3 things right now if you found this episode helpful. All right, number 1, I don't know if you know this, but we've got a YouTube channel. It's a companion channel to this podcast. All the video versions of the episode are on the YouTube channel. So number 1, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Number 2, if you're listening to this podcast wherever, whether this is Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Number 2, I want you to subscribe to this podcast right now so you don't miss a future episode. And then number 3, this is probably the most important, leave a review on the podcast. All right, reviews are super important and help the podcast get discovered by other people. So number 3, leave a review on the podcast. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode. If you're on the fence about scheduling a publishing consultation call with my team, maybe you're not quite ready for that, I've got some free training that I think will be really helpful for you. All right, all you have to do is go to register to sign up. Go to selfpublishing.com/free training. When you do, you're also going to get a free digital copy of my new book published. And on that training, you're going to learn the next steps of how to implement with your book. So how to write, how to publish, how to launch successfully. So go to register right now at selfpublishing.com/free training. I'll see you there.